Bears QB Caleb Williams has unapologetic approach in year 2. He became known for it during his Heisman Trophy run at USC in 2022. Loud colors served as self-expression, and he carried it over to the Bears, at least in the beginning. But by Week 9 in Arizona, Williams' nails were as colorless as an offense that would get OC Shane Waldron fired a week later. "It was hard to do," Williams told ESPN. "We were losing, and days were long trying to figure out how to get things back on tee. But the flair is back." The Bears have a new head coach in Ben Johnson, who replaces Matt Eberflus and has installed a much-hyped offense that generated a refreshed sense of self for the 23-year-old Williams. On a late July afternoon after a scorching hot training camp practice, Williams smiled as he showed off his bright blue nails. "He's back to finding joy in the game. Part of it's just me being myself and just being unapologetic about it," Williams said. "And you know, I'm not going to apologize about it. I'm gonna be me. It doesn't bother me what people have to say about me because I know what I am. I know who I am and what I like to do." The Bears believe they've upgraded enough to keep Williams in this headspace throughout the season. Johnson was the most sought-after coaching candidate after stellar work as the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, and a big reason he picked Chicago was because of Williams. "Having a quarterback helps," Johnson said with a wry smile during his introductory news conference in January. The Bears spent their first 3 draft picks on offense: tight end, with the 10th selection, wide receiver, number 39, and OT, number 56. There were several other additions, including on the offensive line, although in a tough NFC North, ESPN BET still has the Lions as the favorite, followed by the Bears. As Chicago nears its season opener, hosting the Vikings on September 8, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN, the month spent challenging and reshaping Williams, from his footwork in the shotgun to his body language, will soon get put to the test. And when the learning curve produces an inevitable setback, General Manager Ryan Poles is confident there won't be a noticeable change in his quarterback this season. "The one thing with Caleb is it doesn't linger," Poles said. "It's not like if he has a rough day or the practice didn't go the way they wanted, his body language isn't great in the building. Even after a rough day, he bounces back quickly. I'd be more concerned if I needed to go breathe some life into him. He's in a good place." Not long after he settled in at Hallis Hall, Johnson and Williams pored over film from last season. Johnson pointed out specific instances when his quarterback's body language gave off a bad impression. "It's like, do we really want to? Is this what we want to look like or not?" Johnson said. "We come to an agreement. No, it's not. Okay, we learn from it, we move on to the next thing. We don't want to be a palms-up team, where we're questioning everything. No. To me that's a little bit of a sign of weakness. We don't want to see that from anybody on the team." It was an early deliverable on the promise Johnson made to Coach Williams in a way that would help him achieve his goals. Pointing out things that needed instant change was one part. Staying patient as the young quarterback learned to break habits was another. "It's not something you flip a switch and then it's gone," Poles said. "There's going to be those moments and there's going to be different triggers and, as he grows, it's going to get better and better. But I think you still want your quarterback to have a sense of fire. There's a time and a place for showing your frustrations or showing your excitement on the other side of that, too. I think it is part of the progression." A 12-part install produced days when the offense struggled as pre-snap penalties crushed momentum. There were instances when Williams broke the huddle too late to get set at the line of scrimmage, diagnose the defense and get the ball snapped. Lengthy play calls and new verbiage became obstacles. Johnson used words like disappointed and sloppy to express the execution he saw during the first few weeks. The 39-year-old coach demanded more each day from his quarterback. This was what Williams was looking for last season when he, wide receiver and tight, led an impromptu meeting with Waldron. As the Bears licked their wounds from back-to-back road losses at Houston and Indianapolis to fall to 1-2, players feared their season was veering off course. Williams, for one, demanded to be coached harder. He wanted to be held accountable and challenged in ways he felt he wasn't. In the beginning, OTAs, he was leaning in really heavy, Williams laughed. The standard, as the quarterback put it, was being set. No detail, big or small, was being overlooked. That meant rehuddling again and again, even in spring workouts, when Johnson noticed the tiniest of mistakes. "He knows what's coming, and we're getting to the point now where I don't even have to say as much," Johnson said. He's as hard on himself as I'm being on him, and he's disappointed when we're not spitting the plays out in the huddle the way we should, or we're not taking the proper drop, or our eyes aren't in the right place. Of training camp, Johnson publicly announced a goal he'd like Williams to strive for in 2025, a 70% completion rate. Williams' 62.5% completion percentage as a rookie ranked 31st among 36 qualified quarterbacks. The league average was 65.3%. Williams took the challenge and upped the ante. He also wants to become the first 4,000-yard passer in franchise history after throwing for 3,541 last season. Only 4 quarterbacks hit both thresholds last season, and none of them was in his second season while learning a new offense. In one respect, Johnson's pronouncement of such a lofty goal carried a level of little bit, Williams acknowledged. I want to win for the city. I want to win for the Bears. I want to win for my teammates. I want to win. Obviously, selfishly, I love to call myself a winner and win in everything I do. Williams is trying to do his part to deliver on those expectations. He says he listens to voice recordings of his play calls at the line of scrimmage and yells out his cadence while driving in his car to get more comfortable with using his vocal inflection as a weapon. Johnson said that the amount Williams is responsible for mentally is likely greater in this offense than it has been at any other point of his career. Everything he speaks, if you don't understand, he's patient, Williams said. If you don't understand, he'll find a way to help you understand. It's a level of teaching Williams may not have received as a rookie. It was revealed in a book by ESPN's Seth Wickersham that at one point last year, Williams told his father, Carl, that there was little guidance from the coaching staff with film study. This year, the Bears brought in veteran quarterback to straddle the player-coach line and help Chicago's young quarterbacks, including backups and who spent the offseason on the 90-man roster, mastery and ownership of this offense, Reed said. Instead of just being like, okay, this is what we do, he knows why we do it now. But knowing why the Bears' offense does things a certain way is half the battle. Putting it in action with a clean operation from start to finish is another. During the Bears' joint practice with the Dolphins on August 8th, former All-Pro offensive tackle Terron Armstead stood on Miami's sideline and watched Williams struggle to Caleb's process playing that quarterback position has to improve, and pretty fast, in my opinion, Armstead said on his podcast, The Set with T. Stead. On a consistent basis, Caleb was not able to recognize where he was in danger. He wasn't feeling pressure, he wasn't feeling blitzes. He wasn't seeing blitzes pre-snap. Johnson said the starting point for the Bears' offense in training camp is further along than when he began installing his scheme with the Lions when he first became offensive coordinator in 2022. But even with things being more complex, the Bears coach knows things may look worse before they look better. Anytime you're a young player, there's usually a couple of steps forward and one step back, Johnson said. And that has really been the story of this training camp. He and I have been really open and honest about it as we've gone through. And he's had some really good practices, and he's had a couple where it's not good enough. The ebbs and flows took place in Chicago's final 2 preseason games. In a blowout win against Buffalo, against mostly backups, Williams engineered a 92-yard touchdown drive on the Bears' opening possession. Williams stood tall in the pocket and delivered a 29-yard strike to KMET. He went under center and found Loveland and used the chemistry he's built with wide receiver on a 36-yard touchdown pass. It was a different story, at least initially, against Kansas City on Friday. On the first play of the game, Williams fumbled a handoff on a jet sweep because he mistimed the exchange. He ran into a sack after holding onto the ball for 6 seconds. Johnson was irritated with the same sloppiness that he said had plagued the Bears throughout training camp. If the first quarter was any indication, it was not good enough, Johnson said. We have, but as has been the theme throughout his second offseason, Williams found a way to turn his rough start into a solid finish by leading a 2-minute touchdown drive at the end of the first half. It demonstrated the goal he set for himself to rebound in the moment and not let the way things started derail progress. This year for me, it was trying to take a step up in my leadership role and pushing the guys, and part of it is going out there and being right, doing everything right, getting the play calls in fast, being out there, being confident, knowing what I'm doing, Williams said. The other half of it is, when things are messing up, let's re-huddle, let's get up, come on. Let's get this thing going. In 2 minutes, encouraging the guys. It's the fourth quarter, I know we're in practice, it's a hot day, it's the fourth quarter in the game, it's time to go win. Let's go win this game. It's small things like that. The encouragement, the belief in ourselves, the belief in our hard work that we're putting in, and then other than that it's going out there and having fun and showing it. Indianapolis. When coach Shane Steichen declared the winner of the preseason quarterback battle, it prompted questions about just which part of Jones' sometimes humdrum training camp and preseason performance led to the conclusion. The Colts' sixth-round pick, who is going through something of an apprenticeship in the quarterback's room this season, had a front-row seat for it all and has some thoughts. With Jones, I think a lot of the times you'll see the most simple play in the world be executed, and I'd say 70% of quarterbacks would have never got us into that play, Leonard said, referring to pre-snap adjustments. But if you're watching it on TV, it's, all right, boom, we ran the ball for 5 yards. Well, if we were in the play that we would have run, we would have lost 10 yards on that play and be punting on this drive. But nobody knows that. You don't see the bad stuff because, with Daniel, it doesn't happen as much. It's not sexy. And it's not going to have Jones flying off the board in fantasy drafts across the land. But seeing how these nuances were the basis of one of the most consequential decisions Steichen has made in his 3 seasons, they clearly matter a great deal. The things that he can control, he doesn't miss, Leonard said of Jones. So, all the mentals and things pre-snap, getting us in the right play, getting the ball out of his hands, understanding protections, he just doesn't miss. The Colts are banking heavily on Jones' ability to excel in these areas, hoping that will stabilize a quarterback situation that has come to be defined by upheaval. Richardson in 2023-24 was the first Colts quarterback to start consecutive season openers since Andrew Luck in 2015-16. Indianapolis has had 10 different starting quarterbacks since the start of the 2019 season following Luck's retirement, tied for the 3rd most in the NFL per ESPN research. He made some plays in training camp, some checks, some protection, adjustments, to get us in the right situations to hit some big plays that were huge for us, Steichen said of Jones. Those things are going to come up in the game, and I feel very confident in his abilities to get us into the right plays. Otherwise, there's not much in Jones' recent history to suggest he will be transformative for the Colts offense. Jones was 26th in QBR last season, 1 spot ahead of Richardson. He also finished 35th in yards per attempt, 6.1, and 30th in touchdown-to-interception ratio, 1.1 to 1. Jones and Richardson couldn't be more different. Richardson tends to be more boom or bust, leading the NFL in air yards per attempt last season and posing a consistent threat as one of the league's most dangerous running quarterbacks. His completion percentage, however, was historically low, 47.7%. Jones, on the other hand, played much more conservatively. Consider, he was last among starting quarterbacks in the percentage of pass attempts resulting in explosive plays, 8.9%. For Steichen, it's clearly a gamble. But the coach is betting on the quarterback he believes will consistently do the small things right, Jones, over another with big play potential. General manager Chris Ballard sees similarities to another quarterback who took advantage of a second chance. Daniels had a good run here, Ballard said. He reminds me a lot of Alex Smith that we had, when I worked in Kansas City, who I thought was just the ultimate professional. It's as much a bet on the team's offensive playmakers and Steichen's scheme as it is a bet on Jones himself. Privately, the Colts strongly believe they have better personnel than the Giants, allowing Jones to benefit from the talent around him. With explosive running back, receivers, and rookie tight end at his disposal, Jones should have more to work with. Steichen hinted at this when he announced his quarterback. Got a good group around him overall, he said. Our football team offensively, the weapons we have, I feel that he can be successful in it. Said Jones, it's a strong group there. The guys on the perimeter, receivers, tight ends, backs. I think there's a lot of guys who can make plays. So, I'm excited to get out there with them. When Jones does, there's a belief he'll position those teammates to succeed with his veteran understanding of the game. And that mastery is a product of the time Jones puts in, Steichen and teammates say. By all accounts, that's an area Richardson has stepped up in the past year after his brief benching last season. But after years of pouring himself into the job, Jones is expectedly further ahead than Richardson. He's literally the first guy in the building every day, Leonard said. One of the last guys to leave. And I never see Daniel at his locker, on his phone, or just hanging out. He's always doing something. Every time I walk into the film room, he's there watching film. He's so dialed in. Leonard relayed a scenario from last week, the final week of the preseason, when starters were informed well in advance that they would not be playing in the final exhibition game against the Leonard was scheduled to start the game and was laser-focused on the plays that were on the menu of calls for the week.